After we came back with the photographic and video evidence that NATO finally had to admit that they in fact were killing and injuring civilians in Tripoli and areas around Tripoli. And none of this would have been possible without Cynthia McKinney putting together the Dignity delegation that went over to Tripoli to find and report on the truth. And I just, one thing about the corporate media, I was sitting in Tripoli reading wire dispatches from the New York Times, and I'll name names. John Burns from the New York Times was sitting at the Rixos Hotel in Tripoli. Simon Denyer from the Washington Post was over there. It was like they were in an alternate universe. What they were reporting was not what we were seeing on the ground. There was information that there was rebel activity in Tripoli. Well, we saw no sign of that. They said schools were closed. We saw the school kids going to school in the morning and coming back home in the afternoon. They were saying that there was Tripoli had ground to a standstill, but except for the long gas lines because of this collective punishment that NATO is applying to the people of Western Libya, we saw the long gas lines, of course, because gasoline is rationed. And there was some shortage of some foodstuffs, especially fresh seafood, because NATO is interdicting the Libyan fishing boats as they try to go out to fish. But other than that, there was no sign that there was any standstill in Tripoli. Life goes on. The policemen directing the traffic, some of them weren't even armed. So the idea that there was Tripoli was under a siege by the rebels, it just wasn't true. The fact also, we traveled by land from Tunisia to Tripoli. We saw no signs of current rebel activity, even though those corporate media guys in Tripoli and in Benghazi were reporting there was rebel activity between Tripoli and the Tunisian border. We didn't see it, it didn't exist. We came across one impromptu pro-Gaddafi demonstration on the coastal road on our way to Tripoli. And we stopped. I know some of the people with our group talked to those demonstrators. They were not shills paid by Gaddafi. They truly were supporting Colonel Gaddafi. And there's so much that's not been reported. I don't have enough time to get into everything, but it was eye-opening to see how our media is lying to us. It's not the first time. They did in Iraq too. And the rebels, a lot of the rebels are no different than Ahmed Chalabi. These are criminals, these are crooks, these people are looting the central bank of Libya, millions and millions of Libyan dinars and millions of US dollars cash, and now they want the Libyan frozen asset funds released to them so they can put that in their pocket. These are no different than the Iraqi National Congress who got us into the Iraq War based on a series of lies with the help of people like Judy Miller with the New York Times. But there's a lot of Judy Millers right now in the corporate media putting out the same lies and disinformation we saw in Iraq. No different. But I think I'll end it there. And again, I just want to thank.
Why don't you tell them a little about you?
I'm an investigative journalist. I first met Cynthia McKinney when I was writing a magazine story about the shooting down in 1994, the plane carrying the presidents of Rwanda and Burundi. We were told that was a plane crash, it was an accident. When I went to Rwanda, went to Uganda, started asking questions, it was quite clear that that genocide was triggered by our covert activities in Africa, and we saw the results of it. We see the results of it today with the Democratic Republic of Congo, where some 6 million people have died as a result of the war, famine, disease, and all the things brought on by our covert intervention in Central Africa. And that's when I first met Cynthia, and ever since we've been trying to work, we've been working together to try to get the truth out there. And unfortunately, some people in Congress didn't like the truth. The truth hurt them. And but nevertheless, we plod along here to try to get the truth out to the American people. And these senseless illegal wars, and at least now the House of Representatives is stirring. They're saying no to President Obama and yet another illegal war. And I'm just hoping that some of the information that we obtained when we were over in Libya has gotten to those people in the House, and it's made a difference. But again, I want to thank Cynthia for putting that group together, and she deserves a round of applause.